First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate all of you being here. We broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. Pacific, so you can join in here. A lot of this is, we cover all kinds of things, whether it's interviews, breaking news, deeper dives into stories, and sometimes we talk about something really exciting happening here in Portland, and that has to do with the Oregon Symphony getting a new president and CEO. The Oregon Symphony has actually been around in some form since 1896, and it is, I learned this, the oldest orchestra west of the Mississippi. That's crazy, just in that alone. But with the new president and CEO, we've got him joining us right now from New York. I believe that's where you are anyway. It is Isaac Thompson joining us. Isaac, really appreciate you being here and being a part of the show today. I think to start off, because I want to talk all about the Oregon Symphony, but let's talk about you. Let's talk about your history in all of this, because it's a really incredible career that you've had. Like, how did this all get started for you?
Well, Greg, thanks so much for inviting me to be on the show. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you and just really excited to be diving into the Oregon and Portland community. I was born into a very musical family, and growing up, I had the privilege of studying violin and piano very, very seriously from a young age. I started piano, I think at around the age of 3, and started on the violin at around the age of 4. And wow. I just loved music from the get-go. My parents were active subscribers to the Minnesota Orchestra and the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. I grew up in the Twin Cities, and I was very blessed to have great musical instruction growing up. And I fully intended to have a career as a symphonic violinist, as a member of an orchestra like the Oregon Symphony. And it wasn't until I was in grad school, actually doing a performance degree, that I had a mentor basically tell me, your personality type is perhaps a little bit better suited to administration and the kind of logistics. I think it was a kind of not so subtle way of saying, you're a decent violinist, but this might not be the career choice for you. And so he steered me into that direction, and I've not looked back since.
That's good that you took it that way, because that could be a little harsh as far as that kind of criticism, if you're going down that path.
Exactly. Yeah, harsh, but having some of those moments of clarity in retrospect are super helpful, and it's led me to this great opportunity with the Oregon Symphony. So I couldn't be more thrilled.
Yeah, it's obviously worked out for you, that's for sure. So going and making that transition into the business side, that's probably really helpful, because you understand, both sides of what's going on as far as the performers, and then also going up to the business stuff. And I know you were just, and I believe you're still in New York now before you come out, because this announcement was just on August 3rd. What's it been like working with the New York Philharmonic?
It's been incredible. So I've been at the Philharmonic for about a little over 6 years. And it's one of the great orchestras in the world. It was, you mentioned that Oregon Symphony is the oldest orchestra west of the Mississippi in 1896, which is a phenomenal history. The New York Philharmonic is one of the oldest orchestras in the Western Hemisphere, founded in 1842. And really, it embodies a lot of the history of American symphonic music. And the tradition, going back to Gustav Mahler, who was music director, through Leonard Bernstein. Just incredible history and legacy. So to be able to work in this institution and kind of carry that mantle into the future. But one of the things I've learned, I think, at the New York Philharmonic is, well, history is great. It's so important. It's important to understand and recognize one's legacy. You also have to be constantly innovating. You have to look towards the future. What is the future of the art form? What is the future of the repertoire? And those are some of the questions that I hope to bring to Oregon. I think, the classical music world and symphony orchestras are kind of at a major inflection point right now following the pandemic. And I view, challenges as opportunities. So I think this is a really remarkable moment to come into the Oregon Symphony and really define what this next era is going to be.
I want to touch on something that you just mentioned there, because I think that is really fascinating, seeing how, you could say industries or different organizations transition and adapt to, especially how the media landscape has changed, say, in the last 10 years. You could go longer than that, but I mean, a lot has changed. And the symphony and orchestral performances being such a classic thing, you go to it, you attend it. That's the general way, that people have enjoyed that kind of thing. How have you seen that change just in the industry over the last 10 years, adapting to this new media landscape?
Well, I think media is so important. I mean, it's how people, devour culture. I do not think that the live performance aspect of a symphony orchestra is going to go away anytime soon. There's something really magical about that kind of communal aspect of coming together collectively and hearing, 80 players on stage, performing at the highest level together. It's just a remarkable experience. I think what's changing though is how people buy and attend concerts. We can't rely as much on subscriptions as we once did, where people buy packages for an entire season. People are much more kind of last minute buyers. And I think symphony orchestras have to be much more adaptive to the kind of changing market landscape. And I think that, we can be really creative and innovative. I know that Portland's a super creative city with a lot of, interesting people and people that are really excited about taking risks. So I'm excited to kind of dive into the Oregon Symphony and see what kind of risks we can take and hopefully have a huge impact on the industry at large.
That's got to be an exciting step for you too. And now going into this president and CEO role, you can oversee all of that and kind of work towards some of those different endeavors that you're looking forward to. Is that a pretty exciting point for you in your career?
Oh, it's totally exciting. I mean, I've kind of had increasing levels of responsibility over the last, say, 10 or 15 years. And I feel like it's kind of led me to this moment. And, it's rare when a president and CEO position of a major American orchestra opens up. And when this one did, and you combine it with the beauty of the Pacific Northwest and a great symphony orchestra that's playing at a really high level, I mean, it was too good to pass up. So I'm thrilled to dive in, and I think I'm ready for the moment.
Well, I know, and I saw too, there was quite an extensive search, international search, and a lot of candidates interviewed. So clearly, that congratulations on that. That's a huge honor, and like you said, being in one of these positions now for one of the longest running orchestras in the country. That's pretty amazing. Something else I wanted to touch on, and I noticed this just because of taking a look at your resume, Minnesota Public Radio. I understand that you were named to a board for that. Is that right?
Yeah. So I joined actually fairly recently the board of trustees of Minnesota Public Radio. NPR it's an amazing organization. It's the second largest public radio institution in the United States after National Public Radio. And actually NPR, they're one of their kind of brands is American Public Media, which is a distributor of Marketplace and a lot of different content nationally. But their strategy is really to kind of grow their national presence through American Public Media and some of these other brands. So they were interested in engaging with me because I'm from Minneapolis. I grew up listening to Minnesota Public Radio, but then I have experience on the East Coast and now soon to be on the West Coast. And it's just a great organization that I believe in. And they've got a lot of great work that they've done in the classical music realm. So I'm excited to continue to contribute to that and hopefully bring some of that inspiration to Oregon as well.
Yeah, as a former radio veteran, I really appreciate Minnesota Public Radio. So I thought that was very cool that you're going to be on that. That's going to be exciting too. So coming back here to Oregon, and what do you think is it from your past experience? What's the biggest thing that you're going to bring into the Oregon Symphony?
I think there are a few things that come to mind. I think, my experience on the artistic side of institutions, that's kind of where my bread and butter is. That's where I started at the New York Phil, and I've kind of expanded my role from there. But I've been really involved in kind of artistic visioning for institutions in various markets in Milwaukee and Cincinnati and New York. And I'm excited to dive into that work at the Oregon Symphony. I've also been very directly involved in our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in New York. So understanding kind of what the culture of the Oregon Symphony is, what the needs of the community are, and then finding an artistic vision that kind of aligns the social imperative and the artistic imperative together. That's what I think I can bring to Oregon and what I'm excited to dive into. I know that Portland has gone through, some tough times, but I fully expect and it seems to be a real possibility of some rebounds, in short order. And I'm excited to see how the Oregon Symphony can play a real role in that, in the downtown kind of revitalization of Portland.
Really bringing it all together, then tying in all those different things that are happening. Okay, so you mentioned that you started playing an instrument, I think at 4, or maybe it was even earlier than that, and that's amazing. So you had this love of it from the very beginning, but say for, a kid out there who is going to the symphony for the first time, it's their first experience with something like that, what do you want them to feel when they walk in there and go to the Oregon Symphony for the first time?
I think one of the misconceptions of symphony orchestras is you have to know something coming in. I think if you go in with an open mind and a student comes in at a young age and just experiences the sonic power of a symphony orchestra, again, when you think of 80 musicians or more on stage, all playing collectively together, it's at the highest level. It's just sonically an incredible experience, but it's also a kind of athletic like feat, seeing these people at the top of their game performing at the top of their field. It's just an incredible kind of collective experience. So, I think that the more we can get younger people into concert halls, into audiences where they're experiencing this music, I think that's a real key to developing the audiences of the future.
Yeah, I mean, look at just some of those images too. Well, there's you right now, but that's a good picture. Looking at some of these images, though, of all the performers, it's a tremendous experience to walk in there and feel that. I think what you just said, symphonic power or something along those lines. Yeah, it's the feeling of all of those, musicians playing at the same time. It really is something that's pretty amazing. So. Anything else that you want the people of Portland, the people of Oregon, the Northwest to know about as you're coming in here and taking over as president and CEO, something that they should be looking forward to with the Oregon Symphony?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I just look forward to meeting as many people in the community as possible, making connections with community leaders, different community organizations. I think one thing that I've learned in my experience, and especially too kind of post-pandemic, is how hyper-localized cultural institutions need to be. There was this trend for, I think, many, many years where, orchestras would kind of look to their next largest peer and compare themselves and try to outdo that competition. And I think post-pandemic, what we are finding, and this is true in New York at the New York Philharmonic, I think it's true of many orchestras around the nation, is that the value proposition of an orchestra is only as good as the community support around it. And I think, it's incumbent upon cultural institutions like the Oregon Symphony to really understand the community, to really understand the needs of the community, to find points of connection of the great symphonic repertoire, how that can contribute in a positive way to the community. I'm also a firm believer that every great city in the world needs to have a really great orchestra, and Portland has that, or the state of Oregon has that. And so I want to nurture that, and I want it to grow, and I want it to become, a kind of beacon for other orchestras around the world to look to what is happening at the Oregon Symphony and what is happening in Portland as something this is the gold standard. This is where things and exciting work are happening. So that's what I hope I can bring to the community and start that narrative around the Oregon Symphony and get people galvanized and excited about what we can accomplish together.
Well, that is definitely exciting, and once again, congratulations on this and getting this opportunity to be in there. And you've got such a wealth of experience. So, looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I want to see what it is those things that you're going to try out, that you're going to just kind of experiment with a little bit too, and see what can happen there. But tying it all together, Isaac, really appreciate you being here. Anything else that you want to let people know about, or let people know about the Oregon Symphony or yourself?
I'll just say that again, I'm new to the Pacific Northwest, so I'm really excited to explore the outdoor activities and certainly the breweries. So part of my onboarding experience, I think, is going to be checking out all of the different breweries and wineries. So I hope to meet a lot of people there as well. So
you are coming to the right place for that. We've got that covered. So when it comes to the breweries and the wineries, so yeah, you'll have a lot of learning to do on that one. A lot of places to try out.
Looking forward to it.
All right. thank you very much for joining us here on Fox 12 Now. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate the time and looking forward to meeting you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everybody, too, who's joining us here on the show. Again, we broadcast live here every weekday at 1 p.m. And throughout the rest of the afternoon, we have all kinds of programming that we bring here. Coming up at 1:30 p.m., I'm actually going to have Connor McCarthy, one of our reporters, who's going to be joining us for a deeper dive on a news conference that just happened earlier today about Portland traffic and what's happening with that. So he's going to be joining me at 1:30 p.m. But we have lots of interviews and dives and deeper dives and all kinds of coverage that we've done here for this show. You can see it all on our YouTube channel for Fox 12 Oregon, so you can go over there and check out everything that we cover. But we're here, every day of the week, every weekday of the week, and covering all these different topics. So it's a lot of fun to do that. And with that, I also, of course, would put this out to you. If you think of something that should be getting coverage, maybe it's a deeper dive on a news story you want to find out about, you can always email me, fox12now@kptv.com. That's fox12now@kptv.com. And let me know what that is, and we'll see if we can work something out for that. But I'm going to sign off for just right now. So whatever platform you're watching on, whether that's our social media channels, our apps, or our website, just come right back here in just a few minutes, and I'll be back on for that. So I'll talk to you then. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.